Macbeth, William Shakespeare. Page 3. Macbeth. Action of the play. Analysis of the plot. Act 1. Three witches meet in a desert heath in the midst of thunder and lightning. They speak of a battle and propose to meet Macbeth after the battle is lost and won. Duncan, King of Scotland, receives the news of the battle from a bleeding captain and then a nobleman, Ross. The rebel Macdonald has been slain in battle. His Norwegian allies have been defeated along with the treacherous Thane of Cawdor by Macbeth and Banquo. Macbeth is called brave and noble. Duncan is full of gratitude to him and confers on him the title of Thane of Cawdor, Cawdor. The witches greet Macbeth and Banquo and hail the former as Thane of Glamis and of Cawdor and king hereafter. For Banquo it is predicted that he would be father of kings. Ross brings the news of Macbeth's new honor to him. Macbeth's ambition is kindled. Two truths have been told, and he thinks of fulfilling the third one. The thought of murder occurs to him. Macbeth is received by Duncan with affection and gratitude. The king expresses his wish to visit Macbeth's castle as his guest. Lady Macbeth reads Macbeth's letter and comes to know all about the predictions of the witches. Her ambition is inflamed. She has, however, misgivings about her husband's cowardly nature. She resolves to, quote, pour her spirits in his ear, unquote, and urges him to the murder. The messenger comes with the news of the king's coming. The lady revels in the chance that offers itself unsought. When Macbeth comes, Lady Macbeth tutors him about how he will behave. Duncan and Banquo arrive and are warmly received by the hostess. A banquet is given in honor of Duncan, and Macbeth slips away from the banquet. He is perturbed by the horror of the murder. He decides not to proceed further. He is, however, won over by Lady Macbeth. Macbeth resolves upon the murder of Duncan. Act 2. Banquo is restless and pacing up to and fro at midnight. He is disturbed by the cursed thoughts. He, however, prays to the merciful powers to restrain in him the evil thoughts. Macbeth is waiting in suspense for the bell to ring and give him signal. Lady Macbeth is waiting eagerly for sounds from Duncan's chamber. Macbeth staggers into the room with the words, quote, I have done the deed. He still holds the dagger in his hands and continues his delirious talks. He is filled with horror at the deed and raves. A knocking is heard on the gate. It provokes the porter. Macduff and Lennox enter, and Macduff goes to Duncan's chamber to wake him. He instantly comes back with the news of the murder. Macbeth enters the scene and announces that he has killed the grooms in a fit of rage. Macduff suspects Macbeth. Quote, Wherefore do you so? Unquote. Macbeth explains his action in a roundabout way. Page 4. Lady Macbeth faints at the sight of Duncan in a pool of blood. Malcolm and Donalbain, Duncan's two sons, become afraid and fly to England and Ireland. Ross and an old man speak about the strange portents seen on the night of murder. Macbeth goes to Scone to be crowned. Act 3. Macbeth is afraid of Banquo and Fleance, Fleance. He has arranged a banquet to which he invites Banquo. He drags out certain particulars about his movements and the movements of his son Fleance. Thus he plans to have them killed. He says, quote, Fail not our feast, unquote. He entrusts the killing of Banquo and Fleance to two hired assassins. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are tortured with remorse. Macbeth has become desperate, and Lady Macbeth desolate. Lady Macbeth tries to soothe the mind of her husband, but he hardly heeds it. Banquo is killed, but Fleance escapes. In the banquet scene, Macbeth is stricken with horror at the sight of the blood-bolted ghost of Banquo. Macbeth makes some compromising disclosures. Lady Macbeth tries to save the situation, but he gives out his secret in a fit of agony and horror. When the ghost is gone, Macbeth is a man again. He remembers that Macduff has declined the invitation. He plans his course. Macduff remains. He will bathe in the blood again. Macbeth meets the witches. Hecate, their mistress, takes the witches to task for having dealt with Macbeth without consulting her. Lennox and her lord speak about Scotland's attitude to the tyrant and also about what is coming up in the south. Macduff has joined Malcolm at the English court. An English army headed by these two will soon come. So reaction is in the offing. Act 4. Macbeth meets the witches who warn him against Macduff. He is, however, assured that no man born of woman can harm him, and that he has no fear of defeat until Birnam Wood to Dunsinane comes. Dunsinane. Banquo is told that he will be the father of kings. Macbeth is informed of Macduff's flight to Scotland. He resolves to attack Macduff's castle and kill his family. Lady Macduff and her little boy converse. Macduff's flight is reported to his wife by Ross. Lady Macduff feels wounded in her wifely affection and with greater justice by her kinsman. The murderers appear and kill the boy and Lady Macduff. Macbeth is a, quote, dead butcher, unquote. Macbeth and Malcolm meet. The young prince suspects the bona fides of Macduff and subjects him to a long test, and at the end he is assured of his loyalty and patriotism. Ross arrives and gives the news of the destruction of the Macduff family. The agony of Macduff hardens into, quote, a vehement resolve for vengeance, unquote. Act 5. Lady Macbeth walks in sleep. She rehearses in sleep the terrible scenes of murder and banquet. The Scottish soldiers are on the march. They will be joined by the English forces at Birnam Wood. Macbeth is weary of life. He lays bare the sickness of his heart. He understands that his way of life is fallen into the sere, the yellow leaf. He pines for the loss of troops of friends, honor, love, obedience. Page 5. He waits for the enemy with mixed feelings of defiance and desperation, and receives the doctor's report about his wife's death with indifference. The English soldiers join Malcolm's army. Malcolm suggests that they will fight under a camouflage. They would hide themselves under cover of boughs of Birnam Wood. Macbeth is dead to all feelings. Woman's cry does not touch him. He takes the news of Queen's death with cold indifference. He views his own life, which to him is a tale told by an idiot. A messenger arrives with the news that Birnam Wood has begun to move. He comes to realize that his days are numbered. Yet he he resolves to die in harness. Macbeth kills Siward, but his soldiers fight half-heartedly. The castle is surrounded. Macduff meets Macbeth, and the latter comes to know that Macduff is not born of woman. He was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. They fight and Macduff kills Macbeth. The nobles rejoice in the fall of the tyrant. All hail Malcolm as the King of Scotland. Critical questions and answers. Question 1. Write a note on Shakespeare's conception of tragedy with particular reference to Macbeth. Answer. According to Bradley, Bradley, Shakespearean tragedy is a story of the suffering and death of a great man. It is, quote, a tale of suffering and calamity conducting to death, unquote. It is the story of exceptional suffering ending in the most unfortunate death of a prince among men, who with many virtues has one flaw which is not fatal by itself but which proves fatal for the hero because of the peculiar circumstances in which he is placed. The hero is an exceptional man and his suffering is an exceptional one. The hero in a Shakespearean tragedy is great both in character and position. Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark, Lear is a king, Macbeth is a great general who becomes a king, and Othello is the general of Venice. He is not only great in position, he is also great in character. He is endowed with nobility and grandeur. He is built on a grand scale. Macbeth is valor's minion, within quotes. Bellona's bridegroom lapped in proof. Brave and noble Macbeth. He is a very eagle among sparrows, a lion among hares. He shines in striking contrast to the king who failed to lead his own army and to the prince whom an ordinary soldier has rescued from captivity. He is a great general, a valiant soldier, a bold, resolute man of action, a pillar of the state, a man with vast possibilities. Thus he is raised above ordinary men and is depicted in a way that elicits admiration and sympathy for him. Aristotle has pointed out that neither a virtuous man nor a vicious one can be the hero of a tragedy. In tragedy, a good man must not be seen passing from happiness to misery, or a bad man from misery to happiness. The first situation is simply odious to us, and the second does not appeal either to the human feeling or to a sense of justice. A tragic hero, therefore, is a great man with yet a flaw in character. His misfortune is the result not, quote, of vice or depravity, unquote, but of, quote, some error of judgment, unquote. Hamartia, within quotes, in Aristotle's language. Hamartia. In this respect, Macbeth is a challenge to Aristotle's concept of the tragic hero. He is ostensibly a murderer, a criminal who has to his credit as many as 4 murders. Shakespeare has indeed made a hero of a murderer. Macbeth is a hero who becomes a criminal, and that is precisely his tragedy. There is an unmistakable impression that his career may have been that of a villain, but his character is noble and honorable. Let us examine how Shakespeare has achieved this obviously impossible thing. Page 6. Macbeth's tragic flaw is his ambition, but this is by itself not fatal. It is fatal in the circumstances in which Macbeth is placed. It is not true to say that in Shakespearean tragedy, quote, character is destiny, unquote. Tragedy is the joint product of character and circumstances. Macbeth meets the witches at a psychological moment when he returns from the battlefield with a sense of glory, with his consciousness of power so much the more sharpened. The prediction of his great future kindles in his ambition, and temptation assails him with the instantaneous fulfillment of the second prophecy after the disappearance of the witches. His wife, who is exceedingly ambitious, goads him on. But for his wife's instigation, the murder of Duncan would not have been committed. These are the circumstances which whet the latest ambition of Macbeth and lead him to the first crime. Shakespearean tragedy rests on both the idea of fate and that of responsibility. As a matter of fact, Shakespeare's tragic heroes find themselves faced with an impossible situation. Macbeth's inner nature recoils from murder, yet he is being led on the crime by the forces which he tries to resist, but to which he gradually surrenders. When the thought of murder occurs to him, he is seized with horror at once. His, quote, single state of man, unquote, is violently shaken, which is enough to show the essential nobility of the man. The significant point about his first murder is that he hesitates a good deal before the murder and repents of it after it is done. These initial recoilings and subsequent remorse are all, quote, really the protest of his deepest self, unquote. The first soliloquy not only reveals his fear of the material consequences of murder, but also his moral repugnance to the murder. He is afraid of moral isolation. Indeed, Macbeth is endowed with conscience, and this conscience makes a coward of him. The impulse to murder is, however, more powerful than any other consideration. He commits the murder of Duncan in a trance and returns and reports it dazed. His conscience operates through imagination and articulates itself in visionary terrors and premonitions. It is so strong and insistent that he knows no peace of mind after it. He is convulsed within himself. He cannot say Amen. He fears that the very stones may prate about his whereabouts. He has heard a voice continually cry, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep." The drops of blood on his hand pluck out his eyes. Conscience gnaws him and makes itself articulate to him in the form of unforgettable sights and haunting sounds. These are indicative of the inner conflict, which is another very important aspect of the character of tragic hero. The anguish of soul results from this inner conflict. This is the reason why the tragic hero elicits admiration and pity even in his fall. Tragedy posits the struggle between the individual and necessity, and in this struggle necessity is always victorious. But the struggle brings out the essential greatness of the hero. He is vanquished in the physical plane, but he is triumphant in the spiritual plane. In his fall, we have the feeling of an archangel ruined. Macbeth commits the crime of murdering a gentle and honest king who is his cousin and guest. Then there is the progressive degeneration of the character. He becomes desperate and goes on murdering Banquo and the Macduff family. The latter murder is a purposeless slaughter, which shows that he has become, quote, a dead butcher, unquote. He develops other vices, lechery, luxury, and avarice. And Macbeth's tragedy lies precisely in this degeneration. But Shakespeare displays the great art of depriving Macbeth of our sympathy and again enlisting it in his favour. And it is in the delicate balance which he maintains between these two approaches that the distinctiveness of Macbeth as a tragic hero lies. Even in his degeneration, he shows his realization of the futility of his action. Page 7. He is ill at ease. Quote, "Had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed time." Unquote. "For them the gracious Duncan have I murdered, put rancours in the vessel of my peace, only for them and mine eternal jewel, given to the common enemy of man." Unquote. He lays bare the sickness of his heart which touches us. His grand defiance of earth, hell, and heaven fills us with admiration and awe. Moreover, he retains his keen sensibility and fineness of perception. He pines for the laws of honor, love, obedience, and troops of friends. He reviews his own life and discovers what a waste he has made of it. This realization of his folly and his remorse mark the resolution of evil and restore the tragic universe to equilibrium. It is the distinctive feature of Shakespeare's tragedy that the disintegrated universe is reintegrated, and the hero recovers from his temporary aberrations to final sense of glory. It is this impression of glory that is the abiding impression of tragedy. Shakespeare's tragedy is essentially optimistic in its implication. In representing the failure of man, Shakespeare makes us vividly conscious of his glory, his immense possibilities. Bradley points out that the central feeling of Shakespeare's tragedy is the impression of waste. Quote, "With Shakespeare, the pity and fear which are stirred by the tragic story seems to unite with and to merge in a profound sense of sadness and mystery which is due to this impression of waste." Unquote. In witnessing the spectacle of Macbeth's tragedy, we feel that a man of vast possibilities suffers disintegration. We have a feeling that Macbeth, in spite of his ambition, is not up to the murder. It is forced on him by an impulse greater than him. The deed is, however, not characteristic of the man. It is this mystery that at once reveals the glory and sadness, the grandeur and sordidness of human life. We may conclude with Bradley's remark, quote, "Tragedy is the typical form of this mystery, because that greatness of soul which it exhibits oppressed, conflicting, and destroyed is the highest existence in our view. It forces the mystery upon us, and it makes us realize so vividly the worth of that which is wasted, that we cannot possibly seek comfort in the reflection that all is vanity." Unquote. To Macbeth, life may appear to be a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That was within quotes. But to the audience, Macbeth exhibits a grandeur even in his downfall.